Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a financial strategist playbook for 2026, and the whole thing is built on one simple idea. You have to look back at 2025 to really understand how to move forward. It's a clear, analytical approach for the year ahead.
Okay, so this quote, it's pretty much the foundation for everything we're about to talk about. The idea is that long-term success isn't really about getting lucky. It's a process, right? First, you got to take an honest look at what happened. That's the accounting. Then you use what you learned to build a smart plan. And finally, and this is the hard part, you have to have the discipline to actually execute that plan.
So, first things first. Before we can even start thinking about 2026, we have to do the books on 2025. What were the big moments and, what did those moments actually teach us?
Man, 2025 was just a wild ride. Almost everyone was calling for a market crash, but what actually happened? The complete opposite. We saw this massive explosion in AI, with NVIDIA basically taking over the world. The markets didn't just stumble along, they smashed all-time records. And then you had these huge moves from central banks. The US Fed keeping the easy money flowing, while Japan, for the first time in forever, started tightening up. It was a year that just seemed to break all the old rules.
So what's the big lesson from all that chaos? Well, it's that the old ways of looking at the market just didn't work. The traditional metrics, things like PE ratios, they just couldn't explain what was going on. It was the qualitative stuff, the story, the vision, the absolutely revolutionary potential of technologies like AI that really moved the needle. The why behind a company became way more important than the numbers on a spreadsheet.
Okay, so with those lessons from 2025 in our back pocket, let's pivot. Let's look ahead and set the stage for 2026. What's the playing field going to look like? What are the major forces we need to keep an eye on?
The analyst boils it all down to three key forces. First, geopolitics. Yeah, there are going to be ongoing tensions, that's just a given. But the base case here is that we avoid a huge global conflict. Second, monetary policy. The era of central banks printing money, especially led by the US Fed, is probably not over. But it's this third one. This is the one highlighted as the true game changer, a whole new evolution in financial tech.
So what in the world are tokenized assets? It sounds super complicated, but the core idea is actually pretty simple. You know how you have a paper deed for a house? Well, imagine turning that physical piece of paper into a unique, secure digital token that lives on a blockchain. And this isn't just for houses. We're talking about art, commercial real estate, gold, you name it. This technology could literally bring trillions of dollars of real-world stuff into the digital financial system. It's a huge deal.
All right, so you've got this landscape. Geopolitical risks that are there, but hopefully manageable. More money flowing from central banks, and this brand new tech revolution just starting. So what do you do with all that? Well, this is where the strategist lays out his personal, three-stage game plan for 2026. This is the playbook. Here's how the strategy breaks down. Stage 1, at the start of the year, is all about offense. The goal is to ride an expected market rally and really grow your capital. Then comes Stage 2, defense. The thinking is that sometime before the end of June, we're due for a pretty serious correction, so you shift gears to protect the gains you've made. And finally, Stage 3 is when you get back in the game. The plan is to reposition before the US election to catch what could be the start of the next major long-term bull market, all powered by that tokenization trend we just talked about.
But this whole analysis isn't just about specific trades and timing. It ends by zooming way out to talk about the ultimate goal of all this work. It's about the bigger picture. It's about your mindset. And this right here is such a crucial point. There's a huge difference between just making money and actually creating long-term wealth. Making money can be a short-term thing. Building wealth, that's the long game. And according to this strategist, there's really only one reliable way to do it. A consistent, disciplined investment process that you stick with through the good times and the bad. So how do you actually build that foundation? Well, it starts with education. You have to actually try to understand how this all works. Then, it's about the simple, powerful habit of saving, even if it's just a little bit. After that, you learn how to put those savings to work through disciplined investing. And finally, there's this really interesting point about your general outlook, that having a positive, respectful perspective helps you overcome negativity and make the smart long-term decisions needed for success. And this really brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. We've looked at the past, we've walked through a really detailed plan for the future, but at the end of the day, a strategist's forecast is just that, a forecast. The most critical question is the one you have to ask yourself. In a world that's always changing, what's your plan going to be?